Hi, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. Well, let's talk about a little-known medical condition that your government won't talk to you about, neither will the media. It's called frailty, and it is a certified medical condition that is kind of pronounced by sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle, and lean tissue. And it is a growing problem. It afflicts about 12% of people about 65, and then 25% when you get over 70. But it's also growing. It's a growing problem because, frankly, when you look at drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy, what do you see when people take that medication? You're seeing, unfortunately, a loss of lean tissue when you take it, which includes bone and muscle. And according to DEXA scans, people lose about 40% of the weight that people are losing when they're taking Wegovy is lean tissue. And that's going to lead to increased frailty. And that is a very dangerous condition that over time robs you of life. And over the last couple of years, there's been a guy in my church that I've been visiting who just died this Sunday. And he was a vibrant man in his mid-60s, over 6'4", 6'5", big dude. His entire life he's always been active. And then a cascade of horrible events happened to him over the last few years of his life. It's kind of started off with a neck problem, and they gave him painkillers, which made him more sedentary. And then along comes COVID. He can't get out of the house for a couple of years. And then his hip starts to go, and they replace that. And unfortunately, it never healed. He is one of these handful of people that bone started growing in the artificial joint. He was never able to gain mobility, never being able to really leave the house except in a wheelchair, maybe using a walker occasionally. And they go and then they decide, well, what we'll do is we'll destroy the bone with radiation. And they go and do that, and they have to open them up to chip away the bone. And lo and behold, that gets horribly infected, a very deep infection deep in the bone, and they start putting a PICC line to give him some very powerful antibiotics, trying to do it. That killed his appetite, and then he kept getting sicker, which also made his bones brittle, and he fractured a femur afterwards. And about that point, there really wasn't much medicine could do for him, so they just basically confined him to a bed, and over 6 months, he slowly wasted away, losing his appetite, losing his strength, and just wasting away in a very frail state until he was basically just skin and bones. That is a horrible, horrible way to die. And yet, that is all too common because of frailty. And how do you prevent it? Is it preventable? And thankfully, it is, but only you can prevent frailty. How do you prevent it? Well, number one, you have to get adequate amounts of protein. And the way you got to realize that you just can't eat little pieces of protein every now and then when you feel like it. In order to create muscle synthesis, you have to create a system called mTOR in the system, which requires eating 6 to 8 ounces of meat in a single sitting. And so you need to get adequate protein, and it's not going to come from eating what the standard American diet is, which is about 2 ounces of red meat a day. That's not enough. You need 6 to 8 ounces in order to get the mTOR moving to create muscle synthesis. Any less than that is just not going to be enough. And what's horrible is as you get older, the more you need. Yet we're feeding people that are older less and less of it. One of the problems with drugs like Wegovy and those other drugs in that category is the thing that you generally don't want to eat more of. It decreases your appetite, akin to what bariatric surgery can do. And when that happens, the thing that you probably at least likely to want to eat is heavy protein and meat, because that's not the stuff that kind of stimulates hunger. Usually you just want to eat more carbs, and that's the unfortunate part. That is not going to take care of this particular issue. And as a result, we're seeing people that are taking those GLP-1 inhibitors losing so much of their lean tissue, which is very difficult to regrow, particularly as you get over 30. So we're going to see more and more frailty coming up through the years, partially because of these drugs. And and I know this because it is a real problem with a lot of people that have bariatric surgery too, that they just, they tell you right after you have it, you got to prioritize protein. Whenever you sit down to eat, you eat that first, and then anything else that you want to eat afterwards. And, do that 6 to 8 ounces of protein very first thing. And then any extra room you've got, then you can add in the extra stuff. But too many people on these other drugs are not getting that type of information because that requires time. And too many doctors are just too quick to give you the prescription, but not tell you, get your protein in first. The media doesn't tell you. The government doesn't tell you. They're not telling people to get enough protein. They're also not telling you to, they kind of give lip services saying, oh yeah, you need to exercise and activity, but they don't necessarily tell you why. And frankly, you need activity, but more than that, you need resistance training. Look, the two things that that prevent frailty are muscle and strength. And you have to get adequate protein in order to get the muscle, and you have to do some sort of resistance training in order to get the strength. And that can come in the form of weights. It can come in the form of jumping up and down. It can come in the form of body weight. You can use bands, grab a bunch of sandbags and lift them and throw them around a little bit. This type of stuff is necessary in order to age well. I mean, that's the thing. I do not want to end up spending my last 6 months of life being confined to a bed, wasting away. I mean, I've just seen it. It is a horrible way to go, and I wouldn't recommend it on my worst enemy. So how do you prevent it again? Adequate proteins, get that serving of 6 to 8 ounces of some sort of meat every day. And also be active. Look, I just turned 61 yesterday, the day, 27th of May. And here's a picture of me with my 2 favorite gifts that I got from my family, because these guys want me to age well. Number one was that Pilo box, because one of the things I've been trying to do is get better at jumping up and down on things, because I want fast twitch muscles. I want those muscles to be explosive and strong, and learning to jump up 20 inches at a time, jumping up and down, stimulates a lot of muscle and bone growth, plus grows fast twitch muscles. And that's going to help prevent falls and make me stronger for the long haul. And a couple of really good tomahawk steaks, which I am really looking forward to chowing down on. These are the things that really, I mean, it's funny that just that alone is what's going to help prevent frailty. That's the prescription. But unfortunately, nobody is writing a prescription for boxes to jump up and down on and steaks. But frankly, that's what it really boils down to. If you want to age well, if you want to avoid frailty, and frailty is growing at a very rapid rate. I've talked to an emergency room physician as to how many people who need assistance in sitting up. When they're taking listening to your heart, and they want you to sit up in the bed so they can put their stethoscope on their back. One of the things they're looking for is, can you do it without assistance? And unfortunately, more and more people in their 20s and 30s can't even lift themselves up in the bed for them to be able to do it without assistance. We're becoming frailer, weaker people because we're not exercising enough, we're not getting enough activity, and we're not eating enough protein. Don't be one of those people. You don't have to. But our sick, psychopathic system isn't going to give you that message. We're going to have to figure that out for ourselves. And the only person that can prevent frailty is you. I mean, you're the only one, because nobody else is going to do it for you. You're going to have to do it yourself. If you like this message, please hit the like and subscribe. Join this channel. Join with other people that are trying to fight aging with a vengeance. Death is an ugly thing when you really think about it. It's inevitable, but it's ugly. And frankly, I ain't going down to fight a fight. And I hope you got the same type of attitude. So if you like this message, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment. That helps the algorithm get this message out to even more people. I try to put out a couple of messages each week. I will talk to you again soon.